I want to follow back on something that you said about how collaborative the students are. John aspires to go to law school. That's a very competitive aspiration. There are a lot of kids who want to go to law school, and the competition to get into that great school and have those great boards will be big. It seems hard to understand how one can say on one hand it's a very collaborative environment, and yet the reality is it's a competitive field that your son aspires to. Square that for me.
Well, I think in my journey with John through the special education world, there are federal laws that dictate what his special education accommodations are going to be. And those laws are federal. And yet they can be implemented very differently from school, district,
Sure.
or college and university to college and university. What I've concluded along the journey with John is that the attitude starts at the top. And from the very beginning, starting with the parent open house that was held 3 years ago at this time, I remember a parent on the panel answering the same question, and she relayed that it was collaborative, not cutthroat. She had a daughter who was a cheerleader and in the engineering department. And that year, Duke had gone to the NCAA finals. And she participated. And her fellow students and professors forwarded the assignments, helped her with the labs, and supported her to be able to do that. In John's case, he was in a Gothic cathedral class, and there was a project that represented a substantial amount of their grade. And there were 3 jobs per project, and 2 of those jobs John couldn't do from a physical perspective. And one remaining job was to be bishop and to write a story, a historical fiction really. The amazing thing about that experience from my perspective is that they had to, that historical fiction needed to be presented before a panel of professors. And he has a speech impairment. And at that point in time, his Botox used to facilitate his speech was wearing off. And it's timed, and there was nothing that could be done. The speech was what it was. And what was utterly amazing and reflective, I believe, of the attitude here is that not one of the students politely offered to deliver that speech. And I have to say, as his mother, and certainly 30 years ago in the same situation, I don't think I would have done that. And I think if you had a cutthroat institution, he would have been asked to step aside,
Right.
politely or rudely. That never even came up. And I think that says a lot about the experience he's having here. And if it's happening to someone with a speech impairment, I guarantee you it is happening to everybody else in the general education.
That's wonderful. What a beautiful story. And I think it does speak to the culture
It does.
of not just the institution, but the kind of students that they have chosen to come here.
I agree. But that's the attitude starting at the top. That's what Duke is valuing and looking for.
Have your sons and daughters, your son and daughters, found that their fellow students have been a source of intelligence, information, how-to in negotiating life at Duke, whether it's choosing the right class, figuring out what the description of a class really means, because sometimes what's in the book and what the reality is not always the same, as my son figured out with one class. How important has that student referral service been?
No, in my daughter's experience, the seniors here help tremendously, and even they will tell the course about, and even they will come and help telling her major versus how that course can help. It could be a stronger class she needs to take that will help her much more, and even giving the course description that is she wants to get into that, because like you mentioned that when you are looking at the course name and said, okay, is that what I want to do or what I'm going to get into
Right.
later on. But like I said, all the seniors and whoever taken, they, that brings to the thing is the Duke, you may not think it's a university, it's a community. Everybody knows everybody and they come and help anything you want to.